You're listening to a podcast by the Perennial Leader Project. Welcome to another edition of the Way of Contemplation on In Search of Wisdom. This weekend edition of the podcast delivers a short guided contemplation designed to help us think deeply about perennial ideas, questions, and what it means to live an intentional life. I hope you enjoy. The mind is the only instrument we have. The instrument with which we think, we act, in which we have our being. If we do not understand the mind, any problem that we are confronted with will become more complex and often more destructive. To understand one's mind is the first essential function of all education, at least according to the Indian philosopher J. Krishnamurti. He stressed that our problem is not how to meet life, but how can the mind, with all its conditioning, with its dogmas, beliefs, free itself? It is only the free mind that can meet life, not the mind that is tethered to any system, to any belief, to any particular knowledge. An interesting and important question is, what does it mean to change our mind? How does one begin to work with the mind, to gain awareness of our conditioned patterns and beliefs? In his book, The Liberated Mind, Stephen C. Hayes talks about why our thoughts are so automatic and convincing. Hayes explains, quote, "Understanding how human thought works is fundamental to our freedom and prosperity. Our minds play tricks on us, but once we know how the tricks work, we can't be fooled so easily. Once we stop letting our thoughts automatically control our behavior, we can make better use of our minds." End quote. We are not our thoughts. We are wise to see thoughts as they actually are, ongoing attempts to make meaning, and then choose to give them power only to the degree that they genuinely serve us. Hayes describes this flexibility skill as just noticing the act of thinking. When we can create distance from our thoughts, we can free ourselves from our existing patterns and create new habits better aligned with the type of life we want to lead. In last week's meditation on the inner experience, I quoted the Trappist monk Thomas Merton when he said, "Most of us are rigid, attached to our own ideas, and convinced of our own wisdom." Although I believe this observation to be an accurate one, at least for myself, it's also important to remember that it doesn't have to be so. We can change our minds, and by doing so, we can change our lives. In Buddhist teachings, they talk about skillful and unskillful. Skillful actions or thoughts are beneficial to oneself and others. Unskillful, on the other hand, are not beneficial. In the opening passages of the Dhammapada, the Buddha put it this way: "What we are today comes from our thoughts of yesterday, and our present thoughts build our life of tomorrow. Our life is the creation of our mind. If a man speaks or acts with an impure mind, suffering follows him, as the wheel of the cart that follows the beast that draws the cart. What we are today comes from our thoughts of yesterday, and our present thoughts build our life of tomorrow. Our life is the creation of our mind. If a man speaks or acts with a pure mind, joy follows him as his own shadow. Thank you for listening to another episode of the In Search of Wisdom podcast. You can expect our normal interview-style episodes on Wednesdays of each week. I hope you found something useful for daily life in this new series. And if so, as always, I urge you to put what you heard into practice. Until next time, be wise and be well.